Welcome to the ultimate podcast experience with conversations about politics, religion, finances, and the meaning of life, and all the other subjects and stories that Nana told you not to bring to the kitchen table, and a whole lot more. Join our hosts, James the Red, You'll Be Back, and Sam the Slippery Smooth Producer as they settle the ultimate question, have y'all heard about this?
And he said it's a little place called Soddy Daisy, Tennessee.
Critical errors, man.
Put me out of my misery.
There's a pill for that too.
Bro, it's going to cost you.
So you know what we did? We kicked it, made it fly in the shot.
Oh my God.
And let us all drown, because that would be an honorable way to die.
That's what I've been dealing with for the past 5 years.
Have y'all heard about this?
And we're rolling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How's it going this week?
After we stopped recording the podcast on Tuesday, Congress just passed the doing away with or going to permanent daylight savings time, so it's not going to be changing. Did y'all hear about that?
No.
Are you serious?
Nope.
Y'all didn't? This is like real. Literally, like that afternoon, Congress passed, we're going to permanent daylight savings time. You sent me an article about it, Jay.
I probably didn't read it. I just saw it.
Is this true?
No, it's like I thought it was funny because literally right after we stopped recording, it was about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. My coworker Brian was like, they just passed to go to permanent daylight.
Hold on, so you're
savings
saying the
time.
House of Representatives?
Yeah, like our House of Representatives.
But has it gone to the Senate?
No, it has
It'll
not.
never happen.
No, I'm sorry. Senate passed it. It's going to Congress, and then I'm hoping Joe Biden signs it. That'd be he could either go down in history as the best president in U.S.
Listen,
history
For his
or-
faults. For his faults. Could you just imagine being the person that signed that? Like, remember we were talking that it won't get daylight until like 8:30, 8:45 in the morning. Could you imagine going down in history
It's an easy
with
win.
your name as Sleepy Joe?
Oh,
and then you don't get
gosh.
up till 9:30 every day. I mean, that would be kind of a pretty good move on his part, I think.
Wait, the only article... So I'm sorry, I'm still confused. The only article I sent you on that was an article about the negative effects of going to daylight savings time.
I think that article was based off the fact they just passed the Senate.
I must have
listen,
not seen that.
I'm going
in
to give you
there.
some
And
great
that was
advice.
fake news, by the way.
Going to
that
give you some
article.
great advice. Yeah.
Don't
Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see.
So what was funny about that article you sent me, James, is it was talking about this time in the 70s where they tried to go.
Right, yeah.
And everybody was disliking it. Some kids died because they got hit by a bus or something like that.
Because
Some
it's dark at
propaganda.
9 in the morning.
21%
So what's
heart
funny
attacks.
is when you go down in the comment section, nobody remembered that. Like nobody remembered that time.
That didn't happen.
Everybody was like, I don't think this happened.
So I'm confused. So the Senate did not pass a bill.
The Senate did pass it, and then it's going back to the House, which doesn't make sense to me. I thought everything went from the House through the Senate. But I think
James,
the Senate can pass stuff
When,
and go down
when
to
you
the
and I
House.
grew up, you remember those cartoons about how a bill becomes a law?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just a bill.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't hear of anything starting in the Senate and then ending up
I
in
don't
the
think
Congress
Sam
and then
saw those cartoons. He's too young.
I did. I know. I saw that. I was
Did y'all ever see Yuck Mouth?
No.
Oh, man, it's another public television. My kids love it. I sing it to them all the time. They call me Yuck Mouth because I don't brush. How's about a little kiss?
I don't know how I missed that one.
It's
I
a good
remember the exercise your choppers. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Exercise your choppers on some good hard food. So lame, but also very fun and just like entertaining. Like I remember watching Saturday morning cartoons and seeing all those.
Yep.
You know do you remember the Munchies? That one was the one that really resonated the most with me because I was like, that's me. I'm that kid in that.
Was that
video.
midnight cartoon?
No, it was the one where it was the one with the little boy sitting around bored and blue, and the song goes, "When you're feeling bored or blue, watch out for the Munchies. They have ways of making you eat when you're not hungry."
Oh my goodness, that's actually really
It's
smart.
really good. I mean, this is like
That's what I've been dealing with
1976.
for the past 5 years. Oh, guys, we just got an email.
Nice.
We just got an email. It's from a Niall Youngu. Oh, it's not Neil Young.
Neil Young.
It's Neil
yeah.
Young. Man,
Wait,
wow.
have you never heard any
I
Neil
can't-
Young
I
songs?
just
This
can't pronounce
podcast has gotten legs.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
it's grown.
We got one
like
from
crazy.
Neil Young. He said, "Dear HYHAT podcast, just wanted to clarify a few things because of last podcast. When I sang about rocking in the free world, I was referring to the freedom to own nothing
and be happy.
Oh, well, that makes
So,
sense.
I mean, that makes sense. And
That
also the
clarifies his
freedom
position.
to not hear Joe Rogan express medical information that I disagree with. So
I am so
that
glad
makes
that
sense.
Neil Young took the time away from his Canadian ranch.
Oh, and he also left us a 1-star review. Thanks, Neil.
Another
Well,
1 star.
At least it's a review. Hey, if you get 5 1-stars, does that add up to a 5-star?
I think so. I think that's how that works.
Well, keep them coming.
That's what we're
folks.
banking on.
Thanks, Neil. I definitely appreciate your honest feedback.
All right, so
What did he say? Nilo Youngo?
All right, so have y'all heard about this? So in California, there is a fire department, a fire station in Livermore, California. So Livermore is about, I don't know, maybe like 100 miles or so east of San Francisco. So it's this little small town in California, and there's a fire station there, fire hall number 6, that has a light bulb hanging in the bay. And this light bulb was first turned on in the year 1901. That's 120
Jeez.
years ago.
I think I've
And
heard
this
Still
about
burning.
this light bulb is still burning.
Sounds like a code
120
violation
years.
in California.
Well, it's called the Centennial light bulb. You can actually go out. They have a dedicated webcam that you can go out and just watch this bulb burning. And it is, some people say, oh, it's a feat of historic, innovation and engineering and manufacturing. And it is. I mean, it's literally a light bulb that's been burning for 120 years. I can't get light bulbs in my kitchen to burn for 6 months. Seriously, I mean, like I'm replacing them all the time.
You buying LEDs?
Yeah, I'm buying
Yeah.
the $8, light bulbs.
I used to work for the Covenant College electric shop when I went there, and we replaced 100-year-old light switch, and we had already been replacing the new light switches that they probably bought, 5-10 years ago, and that 100-year-old one it lasted that long. It's just crazy.
So
I know. So here's a story behind this light bulb. So this light bulb was made in Shelby, Ohio. It was made by the Shelby Electrical Company. And it was made to standards, like, some of these patented drawings that were made at the time that had like really, really thick tungsten filament.
Mhm.
And the bulb design was designed such a way so that it would have like optimal light. I mean, it was really well thought out. And what happened was, though, is that these electric companies were selling these bulbs, and people were screwing them in, and that was it. They never had to buy another one. Again, think about it, this is the turn of the century, so you didn't have lights like we have today. You weren't lighting every room with 4 or 5 lights. I mean, it was, you had lights where you needed them. So maybe you bought 4 or 5 light bulbs as a family, but you bought them, and that was it. Like you invested in these, and it was like, I have some durable goods here that'll last me. I mean, my goodness,
100 years.
you handed them down to your kids.
Yep.
And so,
Putting them in your will.
no joke. I mean, talk about heirloom quality. I mean, these are light bulbs too. This is not like buying an over-under shotgun that you give to your son, right? So,
That was so specific.
so this is where this gets crazy. In 1920, there was a group of electric companies. One of them was Philips. You guys have heard of
Yep,
Philips. They
yep.
came out of the Netherlands. Osram, which was out of Germany. And then you had General Electric out of the USA. And there were others as well. I think most major nations had an electric company delegate. And they met in Switzerland. This is all starting to sound kind of familiar with what we see today. And they met in Switzerland, and they formed this group called the Phoebus Group. And it was a light bulb cartel. So these groups get together and they say, look, we've got a problem because we're making a really good product that we sell one time and nobody buys it again. The solution to their problem came out in the form of a term that was later coined, and that term is planned obsolescence. So these companies literally covenanted together, secretly conspired, and said, if you make a light bulb, you have to make it to these standards and then back it off so that it goes out in about a year. That light bulb literally was designed to fail. Because if you don't do that, we're not going to sell a bunch of light bulbs, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to make these burn out so we can sell more. And that's
It's really
exactly what they
genius.
did.
I mean, it's genius.
This is why the news is always like, why don't people trust institutions anymore? It's like, this is why. right here. A bunch of people got together and just decided.
Yeah, so fast forward to today, like 100 years later. Literally, this is 1920 and this is 2020. So 100 years later, and you've got this mindset of planned obsolescence that has found its way into design schools, to engineering schools, to manufacturing, production facilities. Like literally in everything that you buy,
Roads.
it is designed to fail. Yeah. And I started thinking about this in recent years. I thought, you used to hear about, this goes back several years, but Tara wanted a cedar hope chest. One of those, you see Lane used to make these, like these Lane cedar, like hope chests that young girls would get this really nice piece of furniture, and then their families would like stock it, all throughout their growing up years, so that when they move out and get married, they've got this chest of things.
Was it like a big chest?
Yeah, it's long chest, and it's cedar lined, so it smells really good. Like you can put sheets in it, and so that's what Tara does with hers.
All these poor men are so upset when they get married, and it's like, so we've got sheets and quilts.
Yeah, but it makes their home nice. So
no cash in there. No.
Of course, you can't find them made like, really good quality ones. So I went to some antique stores looking around in antique shops, and I found one, had to pay an astronomical price for it. But inside, you open it up and it's like, this piece of Lane furniture is heirloom quality, designed and manufactured to be handed down generation after generation. And
That's
so
amazing.
and I thought, but you don't see that nowadays. Like you don't hear terms like heirloom quality. What's an heirloom? We are designed, not designed, I guess that's the wrong word. We are sort of molded and shaped, programmed so that we just live in the moment right now. And we don't care about what happens, a generation from now. We buy stuff, it breaks, we throw it away. Like I was watching this documentary about planned obsolescence, and it all started in this video with this IT worker. Well, it was this guy who worked in the IT industry, but he had a personal printer, like, a printer. And he noticed that after, he didn't have it that long, but then after about a year or so, he got this error message. It was like critical error. And so,
critical error.
And it was like, what a critical error. It was like, the operating system in this printer had just crashed. So he got to investigating it and started sort of uncovering what was going on there, is that these printer companies were actually designing these printers to fail. And so he would take it around to different repair shops and get the same story, every time. They'd look at it, oh, bro, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you more to fix this than it's worth, man. You just need to get a new one. You just need to throw it away and get a new one. And so he heard it over and over. So he went in and started like breaking this thing down and like really researching how it was made, kind of reverse engineering it. And what he discovered is that there was this like chip in there. And every time the ink cartridge would do its job, printing out, pushing out ink so that it could be laid on a piece of paper, a little bit of it actually went onto this microchip. And so it was programmed so that when it got to a certain level, it would just shut down. The whole thing just shut down.
That's crazy.
I mean, it was designed to fail. And it's like, so we've been driven to do this. And so I went back and started looking up some of the writings of some of these men that were in this Phoebus Group, this cartel. And this is some of the stuff they were saying. I mean, they were saying, look, we want consumers. We don't want people to buy light bulbs and never have to need a light bulb again. And it went far further than that, even, where you had these like, design philosophers, these sociologists of the time, in the early 1900s that would say things like, if we want to have a robust economy, we need to have a population of consumers. We don't need people buying durable goods that just last. If we want to have a healthy economy, they have to keep buying over and over. And so in order to do that, we have to turn them into like consumers. We have to make them think that the refrigerator that they bought 2 years ago is now so out of style, is so backwoods and hicky, and you'd be embarrassed to have your friends come over and see this refrigerator. So you have to replace it every 5 years. And do we not see that with everything?
Well,
cars,
with
everything.
One exception. Sam told me a couple of weeks ago that he's using the same toothbrush he's had since he was 5 years old.
That's durability right there.
It's the veganism.
No, it's and now you buy. I mean, really, even what you would consider quality furniture. I mean, you go to a good furniture store, it looks really good, it functions well, and you get it home and it's made of pressed wood. and if it gets wet, it just disintegrates
I
into
know.
sawdust.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
You can't move it. You move something one time, and it's basically ruined. You see that with even some of your like beds. I mean, just almost anything that you think is wood cabinets. MDF cabinets now. I mean, they're great, and they as long as they're handled well, you put them up and they function well. But if you ever needed to do much to them, they're just trash.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've noticed that with like tools and car parts, things like, and it's actually something I've thought about a lot about while working out my yard, things like that. I try to get like older stuff, so I've got like an older mower because it's gonna last a lot longer. I really like older cars. Like if I can get a car from the '90s or early 2000s, that's like ideal for me, just because I can work on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And with all the COVID stuff, I've kind of wondered if because of the supply chain kind of becoming very, very tricky, we'll just say, I've been wondering if we're going to kind of go back to where we have to have stuff that lasts a lot longer. Maybe the TV repairman will open a backup shop. Like I've always wanted to be a repairman of some kind, but it's just there's not.
Well, we've seen this
not a market
renaissance
for it anymore.
lately of like artisanal coffee shops. People are like, "Look,
Yeah.
why are you drinking that mass-produced poison that comes in the blue can? Why don't you actually get?" I don't mean poison like it's literally deadly, but you know what I'm saying. Just like
There's like
mass-produced
glyphosates and stuff like
that you really
Yeah.
don't want to be drinking in a can of Maxwell House or whatever. But so you start seeing these generations kind of say, let's take it back. Let's go back a century and see how things were manufactured, how coffee was made, how bourbon was distilled, kind of going back to old craft breweries. So maybe we will see like this sort of like a hipster. You'll have a hipster walking around with a mustache and some skinny jeans like, can I fix your TV for you?
I was just going to say, instead of us seeing a renaissance toward things lasting longer, now you've seen a renaissance toward everything you buy, you're asked, do you want an extended warranty?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The warranty, yeah.
And I'm like, on this $89 printer?
Right.
Like, and probably a lot of people do that. I mean, and I would think that the game there is that 90% of that stuff is not honored. People don't, like, they forget they bought it. It is such a scam.
That's it. So that's it. A lot of the warranties, so I actually have a lot of experience. I'm actually in a warranty claim right now. I use the little neck band Bluetooth headsets. I always get the warranty because I use it every day and there's no way it's lasted 3 years. Like I've never had one last 3 years. So I've only ever bought one. I've had 4. And I always file the warranty. I mean, it's legitimate. They're saying they can, because I always see a warranty as that's what the company's kind of betting against you that it's going to last that.
Right.
And then that money is going to be their profit. So,
So I've got a story like that too. I bought, and to kind of bring this back to a couple of podcasts ago with my pen fetish. So I bought this pen from.
fetish.
Is there something you've not told us about these pens?
So there's this. It's a new startup. It's a company in the United States, but on their website, they really promote their website kind of like what we're talking about, like this old school traditional. Values and this, but I started noticing some of their marketing terms. And so, first of all, it would say that these pens are designed in America, not made in America, designed in America
At a desk.
which means that someone at a computer, drew out what they wanted their pen to look like and then sent the schematics over to China. And then they manufactured it there. But then not only that, it would say little clever things like it's designed to last a lifetime. So you've designed it to last a lifetime.
The lifetime of the pen.
That does not mean it was manufactured to last a lifetime.
True.
That doesn't.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy it. So I bought the pen, and it wasn't expensive. It was like $35.
You'll shot me this glance of like, oh my gosh.
So I bought this pen, and and so the first thing I did was completely disassemble it. I'm like, I want to see everything that's made in this. And there were plastic parts in the click mechanism, which again is like, okay, you have not designed this to last a lifetime. There's just no way. But so I bought it and I used it for a while and it broke. So I called them up and they were so nice. They were like, oh yeah, we'll send you another one. And they did. So within a couple of days I had a new pen. And it dawned on me, they don't care. They'll send me 5 pens and they'll still make money on this.
Because most people aren't going to do that.
either they're not going to do it or they're so cheap to begin with that it doesn't matter to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like they've made their money already when I bought that one.
Yeah.
You've got a pen that costs 13 cents to manufacture. They're selling it for $35. They're like, yeah, we'll send you 10.
Dude, Shark Tank's going to invest in that. Like that's.
So, but planned obsolescence. So it's really aggravating in a way because here's some points I want to kind of get out of this, and then if you guys want to move on to something else. But number one, if you think that powerful companies with powerful special interests are not getting together and conspiring in ways that affect you, then you're just naive, right?
No, for sure. I mean, at least Google and Facebook and stuff, it's been documented.
Right. This is a perfect example.
They conspire with the government too.
Right.
That's what's so crazy about
people sitting in a room together saying, these powerful electrical companies in 1920 met in Switzerland, Geneva, Switzerland. Just this year, there's been
Why does everybody meet in Geneva? Sorry.
That's what I was going to say. I mean,
that's creeping me out a little bit.
I know it. These same powerful global
I think it's really
companies.
pretty over there.
Is it just pretty? Okay.
meet there too. It's funny. I had this is completely out of left field, but when I was in college, I had this economics professor who was he was high up in the ranks of OPEC, like oil production. And so I guess he decided he wanted to leave the Arab world and he wanted to come to the United States and be a professor, a college professor. And he was a very interesting guy, very funny. And his name was Zalid Kalani, and just very interesting. And so he was telling us a story one day about being in Switzerland. And he said, I was in Switzerland. He goes, all of these like really fancy people. And he said, I'm at this party and we're at this balcony overlooking this gorgeous Swiss lake. And he said, this lady came up to me and said, have you ever seen something so beautiful? Lake Geneva is the most beautiful lake in the world. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty beautiful. It is nice. And he said, but I will tell you, he said, there's a place that I've been that's even more beautiful than this. I'm telling you, it's the most beautiful place in the world. And he said, this lady, with her drink in her hand, she was like, really? Tell me, where is this place? And he said, it's a little place called Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. And she was like, really? Really? She's like, I'm going to see about this place.
Now there's going to be the Saudi convention, the Saudi Daisy convention now.
Home of, it'll be the new home of planned obsolescence and snake handling.
The World Economic Forum. Maybe we'll get the chance to meet Clow and Neil. I mean, obviously Neil's a part of it now.
Amazing,
so.
yeah.
Do you think this same design flaw has gone into things like brakes?
Absolutely.
I hope not.
I mean, look at the quality. You can't make brakes out of asbestos anymore, so that was the downfall there.
Well, there goes that.
It's like, what do you want? You want the brakes to last a lifetime, or do you want to be able to have, cancer-free life? You decide.
Well, everything in California causes cancer. Just in California, though.
That is true.
Exactly.
I think these mics probably cause cancer in California.
Do y'all know who Gene Stallings is?
Alabama? Football?
Alabama.
Yeah.
Yep. So great storyteller. I heard him tell one time that, he was a part of the original Junction Boys, Bear Bryant's Junction Boys out at Texas A&M, to where they literally nearly killed guys. Like they'd take them out. Back then, one of the things of punishment was they would withhold water from you. Like in the heat.
Like if you're practicing?
Yeah, practicing. Like you can't have water because you're not practicing good. Like they didn't understand about hydration and
Water's for
this is
closers.
This is 19, probably what, 50s, 60s even. Maybe before that. I'd have to look it up, but
Jeez.
I'm sorry, fellow Alabama fans, that I don't know the precise date of that. But anyway,
Take that houndstooth jacket off right now.
Gene Stallings tells a story about being a part of that, and he said, people asked me, did I ever want to quit? And in his deep, gruff voice, he goes, never gave quitting a chance. Now, I wanted to die. He said, every morning, they take us on a bus to practice. And he said, we go around this curve, and at the end of the curve was a big pond. And I think, Lord, just let the brakes fail on this bus and let us all drown, because that would be an honorable way to die.
Dang.
So
That's
pure
rough,
misery.
then.
Pure misery.
That's crazy.
All right, so if people are conspiring, you need to know that. Then I guess number two, the products that you buy are designed to not last a lifetime they're designed to actually to fail.
The warranties.
I don't know. Yeah, sometimes warranties are weird, but I think as things have been failing, like it definitely sounds like that was kind of the old hat way of doing things, like having a warranty, and that was just kind of a little extra profit, and then they wouldn't honor it on the back end. But I think more and more people are kind of growing wise to that and probably reporting those businesses to the Better Business Bureau and things like that. So I think a lot of warranties are kind of like what you were saying. They just sent you a new pen. Like I think things are being more that way because they get it. They get that most people aren't going to file a warranty because they've lost trust in warranties and things like that.
Yeah, it's like if you go buy something and it says it costs $100, but we're going to give you a $10 mail-in rebate. Well, they know that only 16% of the population is going to send
the percentage
that.
like down.
Right.
You know,
and so it's an exact science.
I'm kind of old school with stuff like that. I had a guy recently. We have a spot repair business, and so we go out and fix chips and tubs and things like that. And had this old property manager, probably 60-something years old, been doing it for 30 years, and we were going to go do something to a tub, like a $250 repair, and, on a 30-year-old tub. And he wanted my warranty information. I said, well, we offer a lifetime warranty on our repairs. And he goes, well, I need it in writing.
Yeah.
And I said, look, dude, this is a $250 repair. I said, that warranty is as good as my word. In other words, people can give you something on paper. What are you going to do if I don't come fix it? Like if this fails and I don't come fix it, that paper's done you no good. He said, well, I could see. I said,
for $250.
Again, I said,
call me. Judge Judy.
I said, first off, I wouldn't warrant it lifetime if it wasn't going to last a long, long time. I said, second off, if you call me and it fails, we will come fix it. I'm just telling you, like, person to person, this will be done. I said, but I need the warranty so you can go sue me in court. Like, what's the worst I can do? Give you $250 back. It's like, it's ingrained, and it's part of that haggle process. Like, people want a little bit more, but but yeah, I think what you're talking about with the people just sending you the pen back is there, like, that's calculated though. Yeah. That's like, we know we have a fail rate and a
right. It's like a car manufacturer knowing that if we reduce the quality of this one part, we may have some accidents. You guys remember this with the Ford Pinto? And the GMC, with the cars that would explode because of gas. I can't remember the exact reason, but there was something mechanically in the cars that made them malfunction and would explode, like the gas tanks would explode.
Gee.
And they just knew that. Like, and then it was leaked. It came out that there was negotiations at the highest level of the company that said, look, if we get lawsuits and we have to pay out big in lawsuits, we anticipate paying out this much. But the money we've saved is X plus Y. So it's more than this. So we're going to come out ahead.
So the flip side of that, and I remember when I worked at Eli Lilly, a pharmaceutical company, one of our executives was giving a talk one time, and he said, imagine doing work to where you're trying to better lives, and you're trying to give life-saving therapeutics. And we've got scientists dedicated to trying to find cures. And a whole other conspiracy story we can go into if y'all want to. But truly, the guy's saying, we're trying to get these therapeutics out to help people live longer, healthier, happier lives. And he said, but imagine in doing that, all these things have unintended side effects. He said, imagine knowing that despite your best intentions, you've got to budget millions of dollars in legal fees because you're getting sued.
Right.
He said in the pharma world, he said maybe in some of these other things you can do and maybe lawsuits or not. But in pharmaceuticals, you are getting sued for every product you put on the market.
Mm. Yes,
so they budgeted in.
That's the whole other side where companies are having to like actually operate with that knowledge, which is hard.
Yeah.
All right, so if it's okay, let's wrap this topic up. I just wanted to say one last thing. Just know that as an American, as a consumer, you are being programmed to buy more and more. And I think that's a good takeaway, is to say, look, just don't fall for it. Like, you don't have to update your car every 4 years. You don't have to get a new phone every couple of years. You don't have to buy clothes just because, your clothes are fine, but they just don't look like the latest trends, right? You don't have to continually get into that rat race. That's exactly what these folks want you to do. You don't have to do it.
So this topic I love it because there is so much just crap in the world. And so, I saw a comic one time, and in the comic strip, the dad opens his garage and it's just packed full. Like, you can't even walk in there. And he looks at his son. He says, son, when I pass away one day, all this will be yours. and so, you think about the stewardship of things whenever, people pass on. And, Jill's uncle passed away recently, and we went back to where he lived. And there's, literally so much stuff.
Were there any pins?
There. No. I mean, like
were there
some
were there any pins,
bank-
watches, or over-under
pins.
shotguns?
So I've not really told y'all about Rex, but there were probably some bank pins there. I'll tell you that. There's a good story behind that. There were some old records, and and I finally just told Jill's mom. I said, "Look, you probably can't handle this all on your own. You've got some siblings. I don't know if they're going to be able to handle it. But what you need to do is you need to go get a pod and a dumpster." And you need to start going through, because there are things of value
safe.
in there.
Yeah.
And there's
Keep
some,
safe, throw away.
And I said, but you've got to, it's going to be a process, and it's not going to be easy. And it's not like a hoarding situation. It's just when someone dies and they don't have an heir, like they don't have children, they have brothers, sisters, whatever. All that stuff is just there.
Right.
And so it's just kind of, to me, I heard what you said about, keep things and reuse things. And I really, sometimes I just wish it was all gone. I mean, there's so much stuff that we have, and I'm a tool guy, so I probably own way, way, way too many tools, which is always fun when you need to fix something, and you're like,
and you have the tool.
I have the tool.
Right.
But there's so much stuff. We've moved a lot. Our garage is actually just chock full of stuff, and because Jill and I purged, like we went through probably 80 boxes that we'd been storing for years to say, we don't want that anymore. We're either going to sell it or donate it or whatever. But there's still like 40 boxes left.
Yeah.
And, it's like, at what point do we just
have
enough stuff?
It's a problem. I mean, it really is. Just we have way too much stuff. And again, I'm not like, I think stuff, things are important. Tools are important. Property is important. The things that you own that you need, the tools that God gives you in order to, to live your life is important. But there comes a point when, do you, like, literally, I could go into my kids' closets and probably see 5 jackets. It's like, one child doesn't need 5 jackets. And I could look in my own closet and see 5 jackets. I'm like, I don't need 5 jackets. I don't need 18 pairs of shoes. That's me, by the way. Tara's not the shoe person in our family.
Really?
It's me.
It's you.
But again,
I'm not even going to listen. In the event that my wife may listen to these podcasts, I'm not even going to get into this whole shoe thing. Love you, honey.
I wonder, so I had a little thought, which is not always the safe thing, but I had a thought that I wonder, we talked about kind of the world, this conspiring. We have probably our most modern conspirators, the world. We've mentioned them, the World Economic Forum, who I believe was the Bilderberg Group. I think they went
changed
into
their name.
being, nice little shell game.
It sounds
there.
better.
So I wonder, I tend to think, me and my wife talk about this a lot. I tend to think that those people think they're doing a good thing. They really do. So I think there's been this monster created in consumerism, kind of like what you're talking about. And so they're like, okay, how can we help? And they think they can, and they have their own ideas. But I legitimately think that most people think they're doing the right thing in their own minds, or it's justified. It's the end justifies the means. So let's get everybody to rent things, so then they won't own things, and then they won't be as consumeristic. Right. And it's like this kind of wanting to control it.
Schwab has actually said, you'll own nothing.
Yeah.
And you'll be happy.
And you can see it on even an agricultural standpoint that we're pretty consumeristic as far as meat goes. We've talked about that. So that means we need a lot of land to raise those cattle. So then what we do is we go in and kill all the predators that could harm those cattle, like wolves, I know we don't have any dingoes. I was about to say dingoes, but panthers,
Dingo, my baby.
whatever, tigers, bears, oh my, whatever. We kill all the predators, and then we have this overrunning of deer, or we have this overrunning of boar.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
like
okay,
one
now we got to go
causes
shoot
another
all the boar. It's just like the more. One of my dad. I'm going to shout out my dad. Hopefully, he listens to the podcast. He was very good at teaching me. I believe it's Newton's laws of thermodynamics. Is that right? Maybe he wasn't.
Everything
so
you make up on this podcast is true.
But one of them is, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
I think these are Newton's laws of motion.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
So apparently, I was not a good student.
Thermodynamics is the 4th class after that one.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, the laws. So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I see that, and I mean, we even mentioned pharmaceuticals. Most pharmaceuticals are essentially taking an aspect of your body and then going and just forcing it to do something else. And that's why there's almost always side effects on pharmaceuticals, because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yep.
So,
I think in the laws of thermodynamics, what always stuck out with me was the second one. That basically said everything's in a state of decay.
Yeah.
It's like it's all decaying.
But it also, you have the one that talks about it all being in equilibrium, which I think is really interesting too.
Yeah.
So
what goes in comes out, and if it doesn't, something happened.
Yeah. Something happened.
There's a pill for that too.
So yeah, I'm going. Clay and I are actually going quail hunting this Saturday. So we're going to a place over in Dawsonville, Georgia. It's called the Etowah Valley Game Preserve, and so we're going to be doing some quail hunting over there.
Oh, you sent us a text about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this will be the last weekend for hunting, because the season ends March 31st. So
do you have your own guns?
Oh yeah.
So when we've gone in the past, I always rent the gun. I don't.
Yeah, you need to buy a gun.
I do. Well, I want to buy one, but Kenny, back to the heirloom stuff. So Kenny has me convinced that I can't go buy like a cheap gun just for utility. It's like, you've got to have an heirloom. Like, you want your grandson hunting with this gun.
Well, yeah, that is true. I mean, in some respect, but you don't have to spend $5,000 on an over and under.
You need to tell Kenny that.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend.
I wonder how many of the heirloom things that we have, though, were like just the cheap things of old. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, true.
Not everybody's grandpa was a millionaire. You know what I mean?
I've got my grandfather's Remington 1148. It's a 12 gauge semi-automatic, and I still shoot it.
And I get it. Like, we talked about that earlier. Like, I get it's not going to last as long. Like, my Turkish semi-automatic shotgun's probably not going to last as long.
Well, I want to tell you something I stupidly said at a gun counter. So we're doing these, have I told you this, Sam?
No, I'm just thinking
you talk about
stupid things.
You talk about getting some funny looks. So I'm in this gun shop, probably like at an Academy or a Dick's Sporting Goods or something. And you get over there, like, and the people who are in the hunting area look a little bit different than the people over in the golf area. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm over there, like, I think it was at Academy Sports.
Okay.
And so
good people.
We're preparing eventually to go on one of these shooting trips, whether we hunt or just shoot clays or whatever. And so I remember the type of gun that we were using, which is called an over-under.
Right.
And so I go in and, get like a couple dozen Titleist Pro V1s, some Naked Lady tees and, just stuff for golf, probably wearing my pink shirt,
Yeah.
And I saunter over to the hunting area where I'm the only person not wearing camouflage. And he goes, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I want to maybe look at some of your shotguns." He goes, "What do you have in mind?" I said, "Do you have any high-lows?" And he looked at me and he goes, "Any what?" I said, "Any high-low shotguns, like, with authority. High-low shotgun."
High-low.
He goes, "Son, you mean an over-under?" And I was like, and this other guy in camo says, "I'd never heard it called that either." So it's like, man, I can't even fake it.
I love it though.
He was like, you know what? I'll just go back to the golf section.
Well, did you look at the over-unders there?
Yeah, I did, but I was too embarrassed to even think about, like,
that's important in sales,
because
though.
I was probably going to be like, "Y'all have any bullets for this?"
No, I
people are like, "Do you have the top mattress?" And you're like, "You mean the mattress?" And then, like, that doesn't get you any points.
So you have to establish this dominance over them, show them that you're stupid, and I know more than you. And
no, the best thing would be like, "Oh yeah, we got the top mattress. Yeah, come over here."
Yeah.
Like that's the best way to do it.
Now that we're talking about shooting, I'd love to tell you about
some off.
No, I'd love to tell you about our weekend.
Oh, please do.
A little plug to our friends down at Noontutla Creek Farms. I mean, what a great place.
Amazing.
We've been.
Yeah.
That was my third trip, all with guys from church, and man, we just have a great time when we go down there, and you build that fire and get the smoke in your clothes, and go out and
the cigars,
they've got a cigar,
the bourbon,
the
bullets,
little bit of bourbon, the bullets,
the bourbon smoke.
We they have a clay range down there with 12 stations. Is that correct?
Yeah,
you can shoot
it's
12
a bunch.
stations.
They call it a 12 stand. Yeah, so
yep. So you can shoot about 100 rounds throughout the course, and I'll say the first time I went, I liked it. The second time I went, I really enjoyed it, and this third time, I think I'm addicted
Wow.
because now just the practice, the montage of me missing a lot. But I start.
we can make
now
that.
I'm hitting.
We can make that.
But now I'm hitting these clays, and I understand the mechanics of it a little bit better, and it's more natural, and it's like so much fun. But I'm going to ask you guys, because I did this Saturday morning. We got up at I think we had to be at the site. What's that called? Their little place where you go pay.
The woods.
No,
Where you pay.
Where you pay them. I want to call it their lodge.
Oh, they call it an outfitters.
They're
It's
outfitters.
their outfitters.
Yeah, so we go to the outfitters office, if you will, and at 7:45 in the morning.
It's a log cabin with a ginormous wood burning stove.
It's beautiful in there.
It's 100 degrees in there.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, it was 21 degrees outside of there.
Yeah. So that felt nice.
The ground was frozen now, and we knew it's warming up today. Like it's going to get up to like 52, sunny.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a beautiful, glorious day. But I'm going to ask you guys: have y'all ever been clay shooting? I'm not going to call it clay hunting. Have you ever? I mean, I'm sorry. Have you ever been quail shooting?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I've shot.
Well,
birds, though.
we did the one in December where we went, and because of the high winds and the rain, we
Didn't
had
they
to
get canceled?
quell that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we were
but
there,
you've
but-
actually done it before.
You had to quell the quail hunt.
Yeah.
You've done it.
I've never shot a quail,
Okay.
so yeah, I missed my chance
Oh,
this weekend apparently.
Well, then let me just tell you all about this. And I'm not going to call it a quail hunt. This is a quail shoot.
Massacre.
Fish in a barrel.
So this is almost embarrassing. Like I've never hunted. I've always had this kind of understanding of the sport. You go out and you wait on a deer and you call the deer in, or same with turkey. And it's a real like challenge. Fishing, I understand fishing. Like a fish has a very fair chance against the fisherman
Right.
typically. And for everyone that you catch, you don't catch 1,000 kind of thing. So there's sport in it. So here's how here's how quail, I need to just mark out the word clay. So I start saying it. Here's how quail hunting works, at least on these guided trips. At about daybreak, when we're really wanting to not get out of bed, there are young boys going out, putting about 36 of these birds in the field for you. Okay. So they take a little bit of hay and they put 3 or 4 birds in a little covey and they just cover them up on the ground. Well, it's so cold that the birds won't move. They'll just stay in that warm nest, basically. Now, they can't put them out the day before or the hawks would get them. These things will not survive. So it's like they put them out. They basically plant the field with all these birds.
So they've raised these birds in captivity.
Somebody
it sounds
has.
like.
Yeah, they're farm raised birds. And so Bob White quail, beautiful bird and good eating. I'll tell you about that in a
Are
minute.
these related to the whippoorwill?
I don't know.
Oh.
So we get out there, and our guide Milton. Another shout out to Milton. He was so I'm a smart guy, right? Here's how smart I am. These 3 guides walk in, and I immediately go grab the oldest guy there and say, "We're going with you."
That actually is really
Yeah,
smart.
there's
Yeah. So I knew, as with me being a novice, I wanted someone with experience.
Right.
So we get out there.
Did he look the part too? I mean,
Oh,
did he
yeah.
look like the grizzled, like the L.O. Bean catalog
Well,
dude?
yeah,
from
a little bit. I mean,
1930?
he was 70 years old. He had a white, clean kept beard. He was thin. He was a thin guy. Looked like he was in shape. Come to find out, he was a retired forester. That was his occupation throughout his life, and was brought up around there, about 20 miles away. Grew up there all his life. His wife's a retired school teacher.
No, that's interesting. When we went back in September and went fly fishing there at Nuntula, the guide that we had was a forester.
Really?
Yeah, he was not. It was not the same guy. It was a
Yeah.
younger guy, but
Do you think it's like a certification they've got to get or something?
maybe it's just something that a lot of people around there do.
Well, they just
Yeah.
love to be in the woods.
Yeah,
And
That
love
makes
to
sense.
be in nature. So we get out there, and we know how to use our guns because we've gone to the range and we're good there. And he has 2 dogs, and we're going to hunt with 1 dog. And so the dog is a pointer, an English pointer, beautiful dog. I mean, I enjoyed watching the dog work as much as anything we
Yeah.
did. And what happens is the dog is just full of energy. It's like it's eaten 1,000 Jolly Ranchers that morning. And so it jumps out of the truck and it goes and it starts running this huge circle, probably in about, I'd say, a 75-yard radius. And just like getting some energy out, it'll go poop, like, all right, I'm ready to roll. And so
this is the life.
So then once you start kind of hunting, he had some of these commands, which was careful, which he kind of knew, hey, there's a bird over here, or there's a bird covey here. So he'd tell the dog, careful. And the dog would slow down long enough to get the scent, and then it would go, and once it would get near those birds, it would point. All right, so now in my mind, we're still hunting, right? Like, this is awesome. This is what it's all about. That dog is on these birds, and so our guide Milton has this stick about 10 feet long, and he goes and he says, all right, guys, get ready to shoot. And it's me and Jorge, okay?
Yeah.
And so Jorge's a great guy. I love Jorge, but he's a little timid around, like shooting and all this stuff.
He's kind of new. He's new to it.
Yeah, he's brand new to it. And I'm like just ready to, pop some shells, and which, you got over under, so you only have 2.
Right.
So, and I've seen movies. I know like a bird's going to flush and it's going to go up. You got to be careful. You don't want to shoot your guide in the head. And you don't want to kill his dog.
Yeah. By the way, I read that if you shoot one of those dogs, even if the dog survives, it's $10,000.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, because there's so much training that goes into that. Yeah,
we need to sell an insurance policy on that.
No joke. I am going to start selling Rapture pet insurance. That's for a different discussion,
dude.
All right, so
you don't want to leave your dog.
Yeah.
So Milton takes the stick.
I'm sorry, I have this scene from like Left Behind with the dog, like have y'all ever seen those movies?
No.
They're good, like they're trash, but like there's like dogs like. And there's like some shoes or something. It's so dumb.
We get no donations from the ASPCA.
Yeah, hey, it's all right.
or the premillennials.
Right. So Milton knocks this hay off, and in my mind, what's about to happen is these birds are all about to flush. Well, these birds are cold. It's 21 degrees. And so they basically just kind of look around and start walking. And I'm thinking, well, what do we do? Like, the birds are just 6 feet in front of us, just sitting on the ground. And Milton goes, well, kick at him. So I kick at this bird.
Wait, why did you not just shoot the bird on the ground?
It's on the grid 6 feet away.
Well, so what?
Just an execution
just back
style.
up a few steps.
All right, hold on. We'll get there. So the bird, so we kick at it to make it fly. I shoot and I miss. And I shoot and I miss.
The bird's like, just put me out of my misery.
All right, so
kicked bird.
He's like, and they're flying low. They're flying really low. And so I was like, well, what do we do now? And he goes, well, that bird will go somewhere else, and we'll eventually circle around on it, and we'll, the dog will point on it again, and we'll get it.
He was like, I'll get you next time.
Well, we
next time.
So this goes on a little bit in the morning, where when they are flushing, they're flying pretty low, making it difficult shots, but finally we kind of get, well, I think I shoot one. I ended up shooting a bird, and so Milton puts it in his vest. And Jorge hadn't even, like, I've shot like 12 rounds. Jorge's not even fired his gun. And we're like, so finally some of the birds come out, and the guide goes, Jorge, just go ahead and shoot him on the ground. And get it out of your system.
Just kind of like break the seal. Just get it out.
10 feet, Jorge, boom, kills this bird. And so he puts them in, and then we're rolling. Like, then we're kind of understanding how the dog works, where we need to be positioned. Yeah. Some of the birds are flushing and flying a little bit better as it warms up. And we had a great time doing that. It was a lot of fun. And toward the end, we killed 27 birds. Jorge and I won. We beat the other groups that were with us that day.
3 teams total.
One team had 3 people on it. And so I said we killed 27. We only brought 26 back because one of them I put a full shot in, and this bird disintegrated. And I was just impressed that we were able, because the clays are not always easy to hit.
No, they're not.
And but they did give a good level of practice for going out there and shooting these birds. We had a great time doing that. It was so much fun. We did eat the birds,
good for
but
you,
it was not, in my opinion, that was not sport. I mean, it would be like going and hunting chickens with a 20 gauge. Like, chickens probably would run from you better
okay,
than
here's the question:
quail
is
would.
when you see like this, quail hunting, like you see the artistry, like you watch these videos, you see it in movies or read it in books or whatever. Is it all like that, or are there like there have to be fields where they're just wild quail?
Right. So
I imagine it's a lot harder.
He explained to us that on a wild quail hunt that they. And again, they may do some things to prepare that field to get quail to covey there. I don't know. I could research that. But he said when you flush a covey of quail in a wild hunt, he said there may be 12 to 15 birds in it, and they go every which way. And so you got 600s out there. It's a little bit different with people.
That's when you get the Dick Cheney effect.
Right.
When you get shot in the throat. Which is exactly what happened.
But then...
Probably intentionally.
As they go and...
Just kidding, Dick Cheney, if you're listening. I'm sorry I said that.
Don't drown straight.
Well, he did it, But once they come out of there, even in the wild hunts, they'll go and kind of one off, and then you go hunt them with the dogs. You kind of hunt them down, which is real. I mean, that's the fun because you're walking a lot. You're
and they don't fly far, right?
No,
they're
don't
pretty
fly
much
far.
like we're going to stick around in here until we die. Like we're going to just be like, normal Americans.
Well, either you're
going to
kill them or the hawks are going to kill them. Like they're not going to survive 48 hours out there in the wild. I mean, they're not
48.
I will.
They
got to
reproduce.
I will tell you this that was cool. There were times when that dog would point, and you could never tell whether he was pointing on something that was 6 feet from him or 25 feet from him. And they were very well camouflaged. And one time he was pointing, and we're like looking and looking, and we looked down, and we almost stepped on the bird. So you know what we did? We kicked it, made it fly, we shot it.
It's like, come on, have some
adding
fun.
insult to injury.
But we ate them that night. We ate some of them. We brought some home. Had a delicious meal off of those quail. They were not gamey at all. They tasted really, really good. And then what I was afraid if I let mine stay in the fridge too long, they would spoil. So I went ahead and fried them last night. Ooh. So we did a little bit more at the cabin. We did a more frou-frou type meal.
I heard it was Julie's recipe.
Yeah,
so,
it was it was good, but it was really involved
to
do everything we had to do. We had to chop dates.
Who did it? Like who was the main? Who was the chef and who was the
Kenny.
sous chef? Wait, Kenny was the chef?
Well, we all pitched in on chopping stuff.
Yeah.
But he really kind of pulled it all together, and he flayed the breast. And that's the other thing is they just breast the birds for you. They don't pluck them, and you don't have a whole bird.
Wait, what does that mean?
2 breasts.
You got a bird with feathers that you bring back home?
Aren't they
No.
small?
Aren't
they
They're small, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say each, think of a chicken breast has 2.
Yeah.
The quail breast has 2. It's slightly larger than a McDonald's Impossible Nugget.
I like how you're putting it in terms.
That does. I mean, to bring this back for Sam, is there like a vegan option for quail hunting? I mean, can you
eat the feathers? Yeah.
You eat the hay that they're covering under.
That's so funny. Do they taste like? I've had pheasant.
I've never had. They taste like chicken.
My grandpa used to hunt pheasant, and we'd have like some awesome hunted meat for Christmas. It was awesome.
they're not. These were not gamey. I bet wild ones are probably more gamey tasting.
Right.
These were not in any way gamey. But so when you take them back there, they've got a shed back there, and he said the old fashioned way you would pluck these and you would kind of prepare them out whole. He said these farm raised, they don't have any meat on the legs, so he said we just basically clip the breast out of from the neck bone, and they breast them, and so they give you a big bag of breast meat, which still have bones in them. So Kenny ended up kind of flaying those, and we figured it out. I think quail meat cost us about $100 a pound.
It's the most expensive.
It's not subsidized,
And those poor quails, they get kicked, they get shot, they get taken to the woodshed.
It's definitely like,
but they did get consumed.
Responsible farming.
But,
so it sounds like.
But listen, but here's the thing:
it's green and renewable.
If you're listening and you feel bad, and you're not like Sam, and you've not really taken your conviction to your diet, meaning that you are totally vegan, vegetarian, whatever. We're on a vegan-free diet at my house. But if you eat chicken and you don't like the story we just told about these quail, then just go to your nearest chicken plant.
I know, right?
And you'll see a truck after truck after truck,
gosh.
And each truck has probably 1,000 or more chickens on it that are about to be, taken in there and turned into juicy pieces of chicken that you can eat.
They're turning into impossible nuggets. My dad, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to bring up this story. My dad used to always like do the voices for the chickens because sometimes every once in a while you'd get the joy of seeing the empty chicken truck past the full chicken truck, and he used to be like, or like they'd be like, turn back, or whatever. We don't check out. It's like you check in, but you don't check out for the chicken plant.
This is not a nice truck. Yeah. Get off it. All right, so here's what I love about that trip that you guys had. Just the fact, just the image of you and Jorge out on this cold, frosty morning with a bunch of dogs and this guide, and just, you know, because Jorge's not been coming to our church that long. We haven't got to know him that much. Just what a cool time to get together.
Yeah,
and just hang out with the guys.
Kicking chickens together.
Hey, I'll tell you this. We didn't experience this, but they were telling us, they said, you think this is shooting from a barrel. You need to do a pheasant hunt where they throw them you're in a tower.
From a tower, yeah.
They just throw them up to you and let you shoot them in the air.
You literally stand in a tower and they just throw them out and you're like, okay.
Andrew killed a pheasant.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I
heard.
I think it had
escaped from another farm.
So somebody else paid $40.
I told you they're not going to make it.
He got over the treetops. He's like, I just made it. I made it. He's got his wings spread out. He's just gliding. And all of a sudden,
goodbye, New Tootla Farms. No, Jorge is awesome, man. Here's what I picked up on. What's really cool about Jorge, and is, you know, when you go and shoot the clays in the stand, you know, you just say what when you want them to throw the clay.
Is it pull? Like
pull?
Okay,
pull.
Pull.
And so every time Jorge goes, okay. Pull. Like there's this okay, and you're like, did he mean to, like, do I pull? But I wouldn't do it. I'm not touching that button until you say pull. And so Jorge was like, okay, pull.
What I think is great is how the last time we went to Noon-Tootla, you know, the afternoon was real rainy, and so we all just kind of hunkered down into the farmhouse. There's a big lodge there that we were in. And we were out on the screen-in porch, you know, and we were doing the things that we, you know, wanted to do. We were smoking some cigars, and we were, you know, had a little bourbon, and so everybody was taking turns playing a song that was like really, you know, something really special to them. Like it had an emotional draw, maybe something they heard when they were kids. I mean, for me, I was pulling up old country songs that I remember listening to at my grandma's house, you know, stuff like that.
Smoky Mountain Rain.
Yeah, that's right. Ronnie Millsap, you know, we were listening to all kinds of old Conway Twitty and stuff. And
Dire Straits, like Brothers in Arms.
That's right.
Stuff.
It's really good stuff. And then, you know, being there together, just a bunch of men. And then it was Jorge's turn. And I was like, Jorge, what do you want to listen to? Or what do you want to sing? Or, you know, what do you want us to all listen to together? And he's like, Born in the USA.
Yes.
I love it.
And it was just like, you know what? Sometimes we just take for granted the fact that we just, you know, didn't have to grow up in Columbia and have a busload of dynamite parked on our.
We should have him on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he has a really neat story, and but just a real humble and meek kind of personality.
Yeah.
But I consider him a good friend now, and he's one that when I see him, I have to throw a big hug on him now. So I've really enjoyed being able to go down there and spend time with people that otherwise I might not have been able to. So,
right.
You know, that's one thing we talked about there too, is it's kind of intentional fellowship. You know, and I think that's something that we have an eye to, just not just as the men of the church, but just as the church in general, of like, let's get together and do stuff like that on purpose all the time.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I'll say this about Sam too. I think, you know, rooming with Sam a couple of times on that trip has, I mean, you know, in all honesty, just forged a much deeper friendship. I mean, here we sit doing this. We would have never probably done this if we weren't friends. You know, you tell me to get up and be somewhere at 7:00 in the morning.
Right.
Hey, I've got to be pretty committed to do that. Don't go asking me to work out.
The Have Y'all Heard About This podcast is produced by Play It By Ear Audio. Leave us a review, like us, rate us, or subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use. If you wish to contact us or you have a suggestion for the show, email us at hyhatpodcast@gmail.com.